You stand at the crossroads of history, a world clinging to the familiar gleam of bronze. For millennia, this alloy, born of copper and tin, had shaped civilizations, armed armies, and forged the tools of daily life. Its malleable strength built empires across Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Aegean. But then, a new whisper emerged from the harsh landscapes of Anatolia, a rumor carried by merchants and mercenaries. It spoke not of copper mines or tin routes, but of a darker, harder metal, born from fire and earth itself. A metal destined to shatter the old world and usher in an age of unprecedented transformation. This was the dawn of iron, a material so revolutionary it would create the very first Iron Men, not in suits of power, but in their very understanding of existence. Imagine, for a moment, the sheer mystery surrounding this new substance. For early humans, the discovery of iron was not an act of metallurgy, but often an encounter with the heavens. Did you know that the earliest known uses of iron didn't come from mines at all, but from fallen stars? Long before smelting was conceived, ancient Egyptians and Sumerians fashioned beads, tools, and ceremonial daggers from meteoritic iron, literally iron that had rained down from space. This celestial iron was instantly recognizable, often high in nickel content, and deemed so precious it was reserved for pharaohs and gods. Archaeologists examining artifacts like the dagger found in Tutankhamun's tomb in 1925 have confirmed its extraterrestrial origin through sophisticated chemical analysis, revealing its high nickel composition as a telltale sign of meteoritic provenance. This makes its initial appeal not one of strength, but of divine rarity. This sky metal was so scarce, it was often more valuable than gold. Can you fathom a world where a shard of dull, dark metal held greater prestige than a glistening gold ornament? It speaks volumes about the awe it inspired, a tangible piece of the cosmos held in human hands. The very scarcity of this early iron meant it could not reshape society, it remained a curiosity, a symbol. But the true revolution began when humanity learned to coax iron from the earth itself. The process was far from simple, a secret guarded fiercely by the early innovators. The Hittites, a powerful empire flourishing in Anatolia around 1600 to 1200 BC, are often credited as the pioneers of iron smelting. Their understanding of furnaces hot enough to extract iron from its ore, bypassing the need for accidental meteoric finds, granted them immense strategic advantage. They didn't hold a complete monopoly as once popularly believed, but their advanced knowledge gave them a significant head start. They knew how to forge the future. Their secret? The Bloomery process. Picture this, you are working at the edge of a clay furnace, stoked relentlessly with charcoal to achieve temperatures of around 1200 degrees Celsius, still not hot enough to fully melt iron, which requires over 1500 degrees. Instead, iron ore would reduce into a spongy mass called a bloom, a mix of iron and slag. This was an arduous, backbreaking task, requiring repeated hammering and reheating to drive out impurities, consolidating the iron into a usable bar. It was primitive, inefficient, but utterly transformative. It's an unusual fact that the initial quality of this Bloomery iron was often inferior to high-grade bronze, prone to rust and brittleness. Why, then, did it prevail? The answer lies in geopolitics and geological availability. As the Bronze Age wore on, around 1200 BC, the complex trade networks that supplied copper and tin across the Mediterranean began to unravel. Historians like Robert Drews attribute this collapse to a combination of climate change, migrations, and widespread systemic failures, disrupting the flow of crucial bronze components. Suddenly, the materials for the dominant metal of the era became scarce, expensive, or utterly unobtainable for many regions. This crisis created a vacuum, a desperate need for an alternative. Iron, while harder to produce initially, was far more abundant in the Earth's crust. Its ores could be found almost everywhere, freeing communities from distant, vulnerable trade routes. This shift democratized metalworking. The knowledge of iron smelting, once a closely guarded secret, dispersed rapidly during this period of collapse and upheaval. What was once the exclusive domain of powerful empires and elite artisans became accessible to smaller communities. This meant that the common farmer could now afford an iron plowshare, a durable axe, or a sturdy sickle, profoundly impacting agricultural productivity and daily life. It was a metal of the people. The advent of iron tools wasn't just about warfare, it was about survival and progress. Think about your ancient ancestors. An iron axe could clear forests more efficiently than a bronze one, expanding arable land. Iron hoes and sickles revolutionized farming, leading to greater food surpluses and supporting larger populations. The very landscape of human settlement began to change, shaped by the efficacy of this new metal. The efficiency gained from iron tools drastically improved the quality of life for millions, a silent revolution hidden beneath the clamor of battles. And what about those battles? The Roman legions, with their standardized iron weaponry and armor, became an unstoppable force. While often depicted as wielding advanced steel, it's an unusual fact that much of their iron was what we would consider wrought iron, deliberately carbonized on the surface to create a harder, steel-like edge, a process called case-hardening. Roman blacksmiths didn't always create uniformly high-carbon steel, but their meticulous, large-scale production methods ensured consistent quality, giving their soldiers a decisive advantage. The collective strength of their ironclad legions was not just in their numbers, but in the uniformity and reliability of their equipment, allowing complex tactical maneuvers unthinkable with more brittle bronze. The pursuit of stronger iron led to incredible innovations. Consider the Viking Age, roughly from the 8th to the 11th century AD. Their legendary longships and formidable warriors were armed with some of the finest iron weapons of their time. An unusual fact about Viking swords, often erroneously attributed solely to Damascus steel, is their use of pattern welding. This intricate technique involved twisting and forging together multiple rods of different types of iron and steel, then hammering them into a single blade. This didn't just create beautiful patterns, it combined the best properties of softer, flexible iron, for toughness, with harder, high-carbon steel, for a sharp edge, resulting in weapons that were both resilient and exceptionally sharp. This represented a peak in ancient iron craftsmanship, a testament to relentless innovation. Another fascinating, yet often overlooked, fact is the early development of cast iron in ancient China. While much of the Western world struggled with Bloomery iron for millennia, Chinese metallurgists, as early as the 5th century BC, were producing cast iron by achieving temperatures high enough to fully liquefy iron in cupola furnaces. This allowed them to pour molten iron into molds, creating complex shapes like agricultural tools, bells, and even weapons with remarkable efficiency. This technological leap, far ahead of its time in the West, demonstrates a divergent path in iron metallurgy, highlighting how different cultures approached and mastered this challenging material. The sheer scale and sophistication of Chinese iron production were unparalleled for centuries. The rise of iron didn't just change tools and weapons, it profoundly altered global power dynamics and economic structures. The accessibility of iron ore meant that power could decentralize. Kingdoms no longer needed to control distant copper and tin mines or their intricate trade routes to arm their populace or equip their farmers. Local production became viable. This meant new centers of power could emerge, challenging the old Bronze Age hegemonies. It shifted wealth, empowered commoners, and fundamentally reshaped the geopolitical map of the ancient world. Iron became the silent architect of new social orders. From celestial curiosities to the bedrock of civilization, the story of iron is a testament to human ingenuity and adaptability. It reveals how a seemingly simple material, born of the earth and refined by fire, could propel humanity forward, forging not just tools and weapons, but entire societies. The very structure of our modern industrial world, built on steel and its countless applications, owes its existence to these ancient iron men and women who first wrestled the secrets from the ore. Their relentless pursuit of harder, stronger, more useful metal laid the groundwork for everything we see around us today, from skyscrapers to car engines. So, the next time you encounter something made of iron or steel, remember its ancient, profound lineage. Remember that long before futuristic suits of armor, humanity's greatest strength lay in its ability to discover, refine, and master the iron from within the earth, crafting a future from the metal of the stars.